Всем привет! Today I want to tell you about life of Russia and Russian citizens during current situation with sanctions and restrictions and how we actually live our everyday life without, for example, some Western brands or Japanese brands, and what are the difficulties we have according to the sanctions, how our life changed, and all this stuff, and how Russians actually attitude to this, what's Russians' attitude to this. So first of all, I think I'd like to tell about some very pop thing like brands, cafes, and music, and all that stuff. For example, the first thing which comes to my mind is, of course, McDonald's. So there is no McDonald's any longer. It existed in Russia since the end of the Soviet Union. I mean, the year when Soviet Union stopped being Soviet Union and became Russia and other countries. So McDonald's came to Russia. It was almost more than 30 years ago, I guess. But 3 years ago it stopped working here, left all the equipment, of course all the staff who worked here, and so the market was empty without McDonald's. So of course another brand came to the market, and it just took all the equipment, all the receipts, and all that stuff. I guess they have some commitment with McDonald's, and probably they committed to change it to McDonald's if it comes back, but now I'm not sure actually, because there's so many time passed, 3 years, and I don't know how they're gonna solve this with all the other companies too, not only with McDonald's. I don't actually eat there for the last 10 years, so I'm not the best person to tell you about the difference, but my friends who do this, they say that actually it's almost similar. Maybe some small stuff, some small things became different. For example, I don't know, some sauces or some taste of, I don't know, French fries. By the way, in Russia we call French fries, if we translate it literally, it will be potato free, and I don't remember why, by the way, why it's called like that in Russia. Maybe because it's burned in friture. I don't know if you call it like that. Anyway, if not, I'll give you the translation. And that's why we call it like potato free. And there are many funny stories when Russians go abroad and ask in the restaurant or in the cafe potato free, and people don't understand why potato free, and they don't understand that Russians mean French fries. So Burger King still exists in Russia. I don't know why, how it works, why McDonald's left and Burger King is still here. KFC, there is no KFC any longer too, but there is also just the same cafe with the other name, which is Rostix. And of course I forgot about McDonald's, that it's a new brand with new logo, with new name. The name is Вкусный точка. That means just tasty, or if we translate it literally, tasty and point. So that means in Russian, if you say something and point, so for example, I said so and point, that means I said everything I wanted, or it's just like that. And this name, no one likes it. Everyone finds it stupid. No one understands why they chose this name. And the logo, also they don't understand what does it mean, why. So no one loved it, but somehow people just got used to it. Also, for example, there is no Coca-Cola any longer in its typical variant. So there are some Russian variants of cola. I also don't actually drink cola, so I can't tell you anything. I guess it's quite the same because anyway they have the recipe, they have the equipment because brands just left everything here. So some Russian companies which made juices or some drinks, they just added Coca-Cola in their list of goods. Of course, the name can be a bit different. For example, not Coca-Cola, but something cola, but everyone understands what is that. Also, it's possible to buy Coca-Cola in usual shop, but it will be from Pakistan, for example, and the inscriptions will be in the different language, but everyone understands that it's Coca-Cola, so it's possible. For example, many apps left Russia, like Apple Store. Also, I guess there are many problems with owners of Apple phones because App Store left Russia, and I guess the other things they need for their phones to work normally. But I never heard some terrible problems, so they can't use it or something. I guess there are some ways how to avoid it, but officially, yes. Apple Music and the other, for example, Spotify. There is no Spotify any longer. And of course, there are some Russian apps with music, but they don't have new licenses. Sometimes they have, but mostly they don't. And music exists a little bit one by one because license is over, no one prolongs it, and that's why. But also there are some ways to use Spotify, for example, through Indian accounts or Pakistan or so, and you can pay. And about payments, Visa and MasterCard left Russia too. Not completely left, so our cards, they work, but only in Russia, and they are expired, they're not prolonged. For example, my card Visa expired 2 years ago, and it just works because they decided that it's better to just prolong all the cards because that would be a collapse if they wouldn't do this. But I can't use it anywhere abroad. I can't get a card abroad. I can't get an account abroad, and abroad I can pay only with cash. There are also some ways how to make this online card, but that's very insecure. They appears and then they exist, so I don't really trust them actually. Also, so if you want to pay or buy something abroad, of course it's impossible, or to use some other ways. I don't know, each person finds their own ways. Of course there are some buyers, some goods are come from other countries like Kazakhstan, for example. That's the most popular way nowadays. Of course there are no way to travel, almost no way to travel, because we can't get visa. Many embassies are closed in Russia nowadays. So yeah, you just can't go there and get visa. Also, there are no flights, almost no flights, only in Turkey, United Arab Emirates, some post-Soviet countries like Georgia, Azerbaijan, Armenia, and so these countries, China, some Asian countries, yes, but no Western countries at all. No, not to Japan. And with Japan, by the way, that also was interesting because, for example, brand Uniqlo, clothes brand, their owner 3 years ago, he said that they are not going to close in Russia, their shops in Russia, because clothes, it's their not first aid, I don't know how to say it. So that's a thing which you need for living, so they won't go. and in several hours he said, no, we're closing them. And so we don't have Uniqlo, but there are some other brands, again, who replace these shops. No, the clothes, of course, not the same. The names are different, but the shops looks very similar, because they just left again. They left everything. And yeah, for example, we don't have Zara any longer, but we have MAG. I never been there still. No H&M, but I forgot. Maybe I wrote down. Wait a second, please. No, I I didn't. Okay, so for example, no Sinsay, if you know what is Sinsay, but it's called Sin in Russian, and so some stupid, very stupid names with one letter, and that's look a bit full. I don't know. Yeah, they just replace brands and give them some stupid names. The short version of these names, or just one letter, and. Also, I can tell you that the thing which Russians, I guess, miss the most is IKEA, because in the last day of IKEA there were such a huge lines there. I can tell you that I almost never been there too, but I loved eating there from time to time, not often, but anyway. And many people say that there is no normal variant who can replace IKEA. So of course there are some shops, but they are not so good in quality of serving. And IKEA was quite cool. People miss it. People miss goods from there. So something like this. Also some brands like Nescafe, some chocolates, some cosmetics, they also left Russia. But anyway, there are still many goods, many Russian brands, Belarusian brands, Asian, and even Western brands. They are still here. I don't know why someone left, someone stayed, how it works. For example, shops like Intimissimi or Calcedonia, they are still here. I don't know why. I know some luxury brands, they are still here. Don't know, but of course many brands are left. But again, for me the worst thing is not brands, but the lack of flights, no way to get visa somewhere, so I can't travel, because I don't want to travel to countries which are available to Russia now, because mostly that's not the best countries of the world, and I would prefer to visit some, how to say it, wealthy countries with good level of life, or something like this, because I want to see it at least. And of course, there are many sites, many apps, many everything you can't use nowadays, because someone stopped working in Russia, someone was forbidden in Russia. For example, Instagram actually now is forbidden in Russia. And by the way, when you pronounce Instagram, you need to write below that it's an like extremist organization, and it's forbidden in Russia. TikTok also, but TikTok is Chinese, and I don't know how it works, why it. And actually, you can't post in TikTok anymore. You can post, but you can't create new account if you want. But it's Chinese, and I don't know why. Twitter is forbidden, but the funny thing is that everyone uses it. They just use VPN, and our government, people from government use it. Everyone, celebrities, bloggers, people buy their ads, and it's okay. They try to restrict it somehow, but no, actually it works. With YouTube, it's a bit more difficult, because YouTube works, but bloggers don't have monetization anymore, Russian bloggers. Before it was only from Russian viewers, so they didn't get monetizations. And in Russia, you just didn't have ads in videos, so you had like YouTube Premium, but it was not premium, but bloggers didn't get monetization from you. And then Russian governments decided to not forbid it, but to slow it down, so it started working very badly, and many people wasn't cheerful with that much more than the other things. So yes, I guess IKEA and YouTube, the two the most important things for Russians. And now you can use it normally with some other ways, like VPN or some other stuff. YouTube doesn't actually allow to use VPN. Russian government doesn't allow to use VPN, but VPNs now are very popular in Russia, as you can guess. And then when many people started to use VPN, of course, YouTube statistic was crashed because everyone was from other countries. So blogger statistic crashed, and many bloggers felt the problems with their videos, with the impressions, with the clicks, and they had much less views because of this, because algorithms just couldn't work normally. And yeah, it was like that. And that's why YouTube stopped monetization at all for all Russian bloggers. But even if you watch ads now, Russian, if the channel is Russian, that doesn't work for them. You just watch ads and money goes to YouTube, as I understand. Also, sometimes some funny things happen. For example, because many Russians, I guess, watched through Germany, some Russian trends came to Germany. For example, that song, I even forgot it, Sigma Boy. Yeah, that's why it became popular, I guess, because Russians watch it through Germany, and German people also saw it because algorithms thought that German people watch it, but it was a Russian song. The second part of the video is, I would call it what's forbidden in Russia nowadays. Many things, actually. Much more than 3 years ago, the rules became much more strict. I already told that you can't criticize army, you can't criticize government, and you actually can leave the country, but I guess there can be not problems, but it can be more strict. They can check your stuff, they can check your phone. So some people, they delete their messengers because if they wrote something, they're afraid they can have problems there. What else? Of course, some movies can be forbidden. Some musicians, they can have problems with having concerts in Russia. I mean Russian musicians, of course. There are no Western musicians in Russia nowadays. If they criticized the government or army, they just have some problems with space where have concerts or something. So every time it happens something, so they can't have concerts. It's not officially, but something happens. So they usually also leave Russia. And also, if you criticize it openly, you better to leave Russia, because there is a law about foreign agents. And it's not only Russian, it exists in other countries, in USA too, but in each country it works different. So if you criticize it, you do it in public, you are popular, very soon you probably become foreign agent in Russia. You have this, I don't know how to call it, this thing on your forehead. That you are a foreign agent, you can't do anything. What does it mean if you are a foreign agent? They say that you are sponsored by other countries who are enemies, and you can be in Russia, but you are restricted in many things, like teaching, like something else. You need to pay some extra money, I guess, to government, as far as I remember, but I'm not sure here. And if you post something in social media, before each post, before each video, you need to write that this post video or something was made by foreign agent, your full name, and you are sponsored by anime and you are anime. Not like this, of course, but the idea is like this. And it's much easier to get you to prison, I guess. So many people left Russia because they felt unsafe, I guess. Also, what else is forbidden? Of course, LGBTQ is forbidden. It was forbidden among young people less than 18 years old the last maybe 10 years. But 2 years ago or 1 year ago, they forbade it completely. So now it's forbidden to talk about it on public, to only in negative way. You can talk about it in negative way. So yes, show it somehow, talk about it, mention it. Of course, books where it's mentioned are forbidden. Books, movies, but at the same time, some songs in Russia, they on the radio you can hear them, and I don't know why. Even in Russian, there are songs in Russian which are 20 years old, and they are about actually LGBTQ, and they are there. You can listen to them freely on radio. I don't know how it works. So Russian laws, the thing is that they work in a very strange way. Many people don't understand how it works, because sometimes it works, sometimes don't. Sometimes it works, I think, just once, but to show the people the punishment with some one exact person, and with the others it doesn't work. For example, the others do it and don't have any problems. I don't know why. But some laws, of course, are very strict about criticizing the government, about I don't know how to call it. When you tell something bad about win in Second World War, it's very strict. I mean, if you do something bad with monuments or tell something in media, you can get 10 years of prison, and with the government the same thing. And with drugs, Russian laws are very strict. If you are a drug dealer, you can just do it once and they catch you and give you 10 years of prison without any exceptions. So there are, as far as I know, the prisons are filled with students nowadays who try to work like this, and they could do it just once or several times, or to work like that for 1 month, and they got 10 years of prison. And that's a controversial stuff in Russia, because some people say that they were just not very smart students or young people, and now they're getting 10 years of prison, and they won't be socialized after these 10 years. They won't have an education or anything. And the other people say that when they deliver drugs, they kill people, and that's like a murder. But actually for murder you can get less than for this. About Russian attitude to the current political situation, how Russians, what they talk, what they think about this, I would say that it's 50-50. That won't be the truth to say that no one supports it or everyone supports it. No, I think in each country it would be like 50-50. But we need to understand that people who don't support, they can't say it aloud, they can't say it in the media. If they're in Russia, if they left Russia, yes, they can. So we never know exact number, but according to my feelings, how I feel it, talking with people, seeing the people, seeing people's reactions, I think it's 50-50. But my friends say to me that no, not 50-50. there are less people who don't support, maybe 30%, but I am disagree, I think 50-50. And the additional part to this video, because I forgot to tell about it, and that's why I film in this small piece the next day, and I don't want to do another video with this topic because it won't be so much I want to tell. I wanted to give the idea maybe because I know that there are people who, Western people who like Russia and like so much that they want to move there. They don't like Western culture, Western politics, and they want to, I don't know, they find Russian politics better, or Russian culture, or Russia itself. And for these people, I would really recommend to think not about Russia, but about Belarus, because Russia is just, everyone knows about it because it's big. It's always in newspaper because Russia did something again. But at the same time, there is Belarus, and actually Russians who are, I guess, like you, I mean, who loves such kind of, I don't know, conservative policy, who love traditional stuff. I mean, in Russia we call it family tradition values. So yes, I mean people who love all this conservative stuff and don't like modern things, which probably liberal people love. That's possible. Why not? If you can find a place where you feel comfortable with that. Many people think that that's Russia, and on the one hand, yes, but on the other hand, if you lived on the West, I'm not sure if you really will be cheerful with Russia, because Russian laws, as I said, they don't really work well. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's good because some restrictions are actually bad for people, but even normal laws sometimes don't really work, and that's not so much order in Russia. And if you would prefer to live in a country where that's an order, it's clean, peace, and quiet, with Slavic people, without, I don't know, maybe you don't like this race diversity, so where there are not Slavic people. I think you will like Belarus, because the Russian conservative people, they really like Belarus. They say that it's like a modern Soviet Union. Yes, it's very safe, very clean, very cheap. I guess for Western people it will be very cheap. And the only thing why conservative Russians don't move there, the salaries there are quite low. And actually Belarusian people go to Russia to work because salaries are higher here. But if you are a Western person, I think you will be okay there. Also, nowadays Belarus doesn't have so many restrictions as Russia. Of course, there are some because Belarus supports Russian politics, but it's still easier to be there, to pay with card, there are flights, and at least that's much better. The companies, Western companies are there. But of course, you need to understand that laws, they really work there. That's why it's really very peaceful, low crime country. But the laws are very strict about drugs, about all this liberal Western stuff like LGBT, about, I don't know, 18 plus content, about I don't know, so about some kind of crime, even small. So the laws are strict. There are even death punishment in Belarus. I don't know how to call it. When the court can sentence you to death. But at the same time, if you really feel okay with this conservative way, I think you will really love it. And at least, of course, it would be better to compare Russia and Belarus to visit this and that. But now it's not so easy to visit Russia, as far as I know, and actually I'm not sure if it's really safe because of this political situation. I hope it will be over someday, and then people can come inside of the Russia and go outside freely. So that's just my recommendation, because and by the way, Belarus is absolutely a Russian-speaking country. They have their own language, but it's a Russian-speaking country, and that's another topic. Is it good or bad? But that's the fact. So, for example, if you love Russian language, if you studied Russian language and you think I don't want to learn some other language, you don't need to. So that's just my idea. If you're really thinking that Russia is so great and you would love to move there, think about Belarus too. Maybe you will like it even more, and at least now you can try to visit it if you want. So that's it. That's just my tip as person from inside. By the way, if you tell a Russian person that you want to move to Russia, when foreigners, Western people, tell this, I think many Russians will ask you why. The first thing. Not all of them, of course, but many. At least people who are in contact with foreigners. Usually they are the people who will ask that. And the second thing they probably tell, or probably just think about it, can I exchange with you my citizenship? So, yeah. Just that's what I wanted to tell. So something like this. Maybe I forgot something, but I think I told a lot. And if you have any questions, you can ask me. I'll try to answer. I try to make this video without any emotion and just tell you the facts. Or one more thing. I don't know if it's still necessary or not, but it was like this. The rule, if you leave the country, you can have no more than $10,000 with yourself per person in cash. And you need cash because your card doesn't work there. I don't know, is it? I think it still works now, so I just remembered about it. So I told about this without any kind of emotion, just as a fact. Firstly, because I don't think that anyone really needs my emotions. And secondly, it's better not to show your emotions. Yeah, so that's why I tell about this like that. Of course, I understand that sanctions, it's not the worst thing which can happen with you. Of course, I understand that it's just sanctions. It's not problems like when someone bombs your drop bombs on your homes, on your cities. I understand this. I don't compare this, but I just tell about my experience as the person who lives in Russia, and because it still exists, it's still will be in history somehow. So maybe you are interested to know. Oh, I also forgot about cars. Yeah, so there are no Western cars anymore because they left Russia also. Of course, people drive on Mercedes or Volkswagens, but now Chinese cars are very popular in Russia. Someone cheerful with that, someone not with the quality, but that's just the fact that there are a lot of Chinese cars in Russia. And there was also funny thing about Japanese car Mitsubishi, because they said we are not in Russia any longer, but through Kazakhstan somehow they do that. That's very funny when officially people say that we are judging you and all that stuff, but when it's a question of money, they just found some other way. So officially for everyone they are good, but they still need money and they find the ways to do it. Oh, also there was, for example, Canva, the site for creating presentations. They also stopped working in Russia, and they stopped working very close to the end of the university's year when students needed this presentation. They were preparing it and Canva stopped working. But thanks for them, they wrote that you can write to us and we will send you your projects and you will make them to the end somehow by yourself. Of course, it works with VPN. That's not a problem. It just was a funny thing. The one more thing I remembered about is changing the inscriptions on the packs of different brands. For example, the names which were written in English before, they are written in Russian now. I know that that's connected with some I don't know, some things with laws or some Euro things. So brands which are still in Russia, they a little bit, one by one, change their names on the same but written in Russian. And talking about, for example, Dove shampoo, by the way, I miss so much Dove hair oxygen. That was, I think, the best mass market shampoo and balm which I used, and they escaped. I don't know why. The Dove in general is in Russia, but this line escaped, and I felt upset about this, really. Also, if you are interested in some experience of life inside of Russia, if you like to see Russia from inside, some cities, some non-touristic places, or not only touristic places at least, you can check my Telegram channel where I'm telling about my trips among Russian cities. Now I'm going to tell about St. Petersburg, Moscow, and Veliki Novgorod, and I already posted there lots of photos and my impressions of the cities. Also, if you would love to see only photos without text, or you don't like Telegram, I also have a Pinterest. I'm very thankful to the only subscriber I have there. So if you want, you can join me there. I'll give the link in the video description or in the comment, or both. And I'm also very thankful to 12 people in my Telegram channel who joined. What else? So if I'm not here for a long time, because taking video and editing takes time, and sometimes I don't have it, I try to post something at least there. So I post everything somewhere all the time, but not just here. Also, I rebranded my second channel about fitness, and I decided to make it in a SMR format. So also, if you want to see how it's gonna be, you can check it. So that's it, and thank you for watching, and пока-пока.